Hello again, everyone. I know it's been quite a long time since I've done one of these video blogs. Unfortunately, I've been a very busy boy. In addition to doing a lot of stuff with the comics, there's been some shakeups at my, I guess, civilian job, my full-time work, and that's caused me to be very busy recently. And any free time I have had, I've spent lounging around on the couch and doing nothing, and just haven't been up for doing one of these video blogs. And I have been traveling a little bit as well, but I got some cajoling from a friend of mine, thanks Scott, to do one of these again soon, so here I am. And I thought that a good subject for today's video blog would be, well, trying to do something like I do, working on comics when you're really busy otherwise and you have other commitments. Now, in addition to working on VA Comics, as I said, I do have a full-time job. I also go to school part-time for my bachelor's, and I've been involved in a number of other avenues as well. I've done podcasting, I've done radio work, I am also the lead announcer for Central New York Roller Derby, so that sees me on a fair amount of my weekends, especially in the summer, going to games, sometimes home, sometimes far away, and announcing for them, and that all adds up to me being a very busy boy. And I've seen people and talked to people before who have had ideas for different things that they wanted to do when I tell them that I'm into comics, but then it's always prefaced with, I wish I had the time to do it, or I have a family, so I really can't put the effort into it. And I'm here to tell you that if you're passionate about something, you need to do it. And I'm going to try and give you a couple tips today on some things you're going to experience and how to get through those. Alright, now tip number one I have for you, and we talked about it just a few seconds ago, is just do it. Don't make excuses, just do what you can. If your schedule doesn't allow you to do what you want to do as your perfect vision, try some version of it, some small, reduced idea of the grand scheme that you have in your mind. Say you want to open up a restaurant or something like that. You know what? Maybe you're not going to have the time, the resources, or the ability to do that right off the bat. But what you can start doing is literally go to the smallest level that you possibly can. I mean, if it's literally just cooking things up on your stove and bringing them to some friends and then giving them burgers or what have you, that starts the ball rolling, and it gets you started somewhere. People are afraid to try these things because they think that they're going to have to commit too much, but the reality is it's your passion. You can commit as much or as little as you want to it and then scale it up or down accordingly. I mean, if you start things off too big, you can scale it back, but certainly the better way I feel to go is start small and build your way up. With me and writing the comics, it was really just writing out a script initially, and before that, the majority of my writing experience came from just writing tabletop role-playing games for my friends and telling stories to them in that way, and then that got people interested in other stories that I was writing, and I thought, well, hey, if I'm doing it for these 5 people, maybe I can work this up a little bigger and try and make something that appeals to a larger number of people, not just players in a game. You just need to have that little start to begin with to kind of get your feet wet, get a feel for things, and then determine if this is something that you want to go forward with. The next tip I have for you is simply don't be afraid to fail. There's something that you're going to try, and it's not going to work out, maybe. You're going to come across some difficulties that you didn't account for, that you hadn't planned on, whether it's within the actual thing you're working on or outside life. Maybe your car breaks down and all of a sudden all of your money has to go to that, and you can't afford to buy meat for burgers to make for people this week, to going with our previous restaurant example. That's okay. And sometimes it's a temporary setback, and sometimes it's something that's going to shut you down for good. And I think one of the reasons that people don't like to follow their, as cliche as it sounds, to follow their dreams, is because people are afraid that they're going to screw up, and then they're going to have that stigma that goes with that. Before I did comics, I've tried so many different things that were my passions, either before or are still now, but have just been kind of put on the back burner. I've tried playing cards professionally in different ways. Like I said, I've done radio and podcasting. There have been plenty of things I've tried at, almost to the point where it's comical, and I failed at. And I'm still going with the comics, but you know what? If that fails someday, then that just adds up to the list, and maybe I'll move on to something else, or maybe I won't. But the fact of the matter is that give it a shot, because you'll never know if you're amazing at something until you actually try and do it, or you'll never know if you really, really love something until you actually give it a shot. The failure it's a side effect, but it shouldn't be the driving consequence that keeps you away from doing something. Alright, the next tip I have for you is don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're like me, and I'm sure you are, you have a lot of people in your circle, friends, family, things like that, who can either offer you some sort of service, say somebody who, if we're going with our restaurant example, maybe you know somebody who does interior design, or you know somebody who has a connection with a supplier, or even sometimes it's just somebody wanting to support you and handing you a check and helping you out. Don't be afraid to take those things. Don't let your pride get in the way. Your friends want to help you, and you would help them if they were in your spot. So don't be afraid to take that help and ask. Be willing to trade things off with people. If you think you can help them out, and they can help you out, then take advantage of that. Money is not your friend when you're starting off anything, so you need to try and scrape by and get what you can, however you can, legally, obviously, but that involves going to your friends for help and finding out who can do what for you in what ways, and let people know that you're looking for help in some way, and you'll get responses in places that you may not have expected at first. Don't let pride get in the way of furthering your goals. Now, let's say that you are successful, or at least that you're starting to move things along, and then after doing it for a while, a year, a couple of years, maybe even a couple months, you start to get burnt out. You will get burnt out. There's no question about it. There's going to be a time where it comes along and you're going to question why you're doing this, and you're just not going to want to do it. There's been plenty of times where I've had a script that was done 75% of the way. As a matter of fact, I have one right now that out of 24 pages in, I'm 18 pages done. Those first 18 pages took me about 4 hours to write, maybe. Those last 6 pages, 7 months, I think. If you need to step away from whatever it is you're doing and take a break from it for a while, if it's at all feasible to do that, then please do so. Everybody needs a break to recharge their batteries, especially when they have other commitments full time, be it a job, school, a family, or all of the above. You need to take that time to rest and step back from things. And sometimes taking that rest will let you come back to whatever challenge you are facing in your passion, in your side project, with a new enthusiasm, and it'll be able to let you solve it in a better way than you would have if you just sat there and banged your head against the wall until some answer came out. And my final bit of advice for you is don't be afraid to quit. And that may seem like a continuation of the last bit of advice, but I mean, if you are to the point in what you're doing that you don't love it anymore, it's not a matter of being burnt out, it's a matter of just this has become another job to you, and you're not having fun with it, and you're not enjoying what you're doing, and you never think that you're gonna get further, or you don't want to get further, that's okay. Just let it end. And this kind of goes back to the don't be afraid to fail part, but don't be afraid to continue something on just because you feel like you've built up some sort of obligation towards it. And you may be asking yourself, well, how am I going to know the difference between being burnt out and just being done with something? Trust me, you'll know. You'll know when it's a matter of, I can't do this right now, or I can't do this anymore. And when that day comes, then pack it up, put something on, put it all on a shelf, so to speak, and you know what, maybe someday you will feel like you want to come back to it, and maybe you'll never want to look at it again. But the reason that you're doing this is because it's something that you love and enjoy, and not because it's something that you have to do, and it's important to know the difference between those two, and know when you just don't want to do this anymore. Now, obviously, there's a ton of things that go into starting a project besides those, but those are just a couple things off the top of my head that can get you going in the right direction. And there's plenty of resources to find things out. You can talk to other small business owners or other people who have independent projects and get advice from them, see what they have to say, and then just take all that into heart and go for it. It's something that can be really rewarding, really fun to do, and nobody should be stuck just sitting in a 9-to-5 job, grinding out until their retirement. I think that's at least personally, I think that's a miserable and terrible way to live, and I couldn't imagine doing that. So put aside the excuses, put aside the time restrictions, just go out and do it. Alright, that's going to wrap it up for the video this week, but not before VA Comics news! Stake Center issue 1 has finished penciling and is in the process of having the final inks being done. I'm going to start lettering on that this weekend. We're hoping to have that out. I know that we're a little behind schedule. I apologize once again. Going back to the original point of the video, real life gets in the way sometimes, but we should have that out within the next week or two. We're just finishing up the covers, the inking, and the lettering, which I know that sounds like a lot, but honestly, the most labor-intensive part of it is out of the way, so the rest of it should fall into place fairly quickly. I'm really happy with the way it's come out in everything. I think you guys are going to love it. There's some really fun writing in there done by me, and there's some really great art done by Reggie and Joe. And I think you guys are going to love it when it comes out. I'll be sure to fill you in more once we get a release date. I'm planning on doing some sort of launch party, so I hope to see you all there as well. And besides that, we are going to be at the Albany Comic-Con this Sunday in Albany, New York, at the Holiday Inn on Wolf Road, I believe. We have some nice new business cards to bring with us here. These are the business cards version 2, so if anybody wants one of those to add to your collection, I'd be happy to do so. So we're going to be selling off probably most of the rest of the issue 0 stock for Stake Center, and then the Today's Hero stock as well. And then we'll probably have to do some reprints for the next convention or for the next launch party that we do. Beyond that, there's some other fun stuff that's in the way. Like I said, I'm working on the script for Project X, and I'm going to try and get through the remainder of the script within the next couple days, and I have an artist who's working and doing the art for that as well. Again, I don't want to give too much away because I want this one to be a surprise. I think it's going to be a fun one. But thank you all so much for listening. If you want to check out our stuff, please be sure to check us out at va-comics.com. That's where you can get our comics as well as comics from some other people who are friends of ours. You can get digital copies, you can get print copies as well in some cases. We have merchandise. It's a nice little website we have out, very low-key operation done mostly by me as far as the design goes, so it's not maybe the most amazing design you'll see, but I think it holds up pretty well, so be sure to give it a check. And you also see a lot of news there that you can't find in other spots. Also be sure to check out our Facebook and Twitter pages for updates. I know I've, again, slacked a little bit on that, but I promise that I will be doing more updates because there's more stuff to talk about that's going to be coming up very soon. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you with the next one, which will be sooner than the last one was, I promise. Bye.